Umadevi has completed architect in Tyagaraja College of Engineering, Madurai. She has presented papers at International Joint Studio Venture with Columbia University about resortation of Vaigai River City project. She has received the title of Enthusiastic Participant Award for the consecutive years during academics. Her dissertation project on critical analysis on urban street culture in a mixed-use present is about to publish by Lambert University. She is currently working as a junior architect at 101 Design Studios, which is the green and growing architecture firm handling projects ranging from schools, farmhouses, sports complexes to hotels, malls and office buildings.
Welcome to UGC lecture series. Here we are going to look into professional practice and ethics, which is of AR 6703. Here we are going to look into the introduction about the contracts and its procedures. So, these are the outlines we are going to look at it. We are going to look in detail about the contract, what is a contract, and how a contract is made. So, the classifications obviously after the making of contract, then contract execution, role of an architect, prerequisites that leads to the contract again. Then we are looking into the contract. A written or spoken agreement is especially one concerning employment, sales or tenancy that is intended to be enforced by law. So what is this is actually a written or a spoken agreement. Contract is this when you sign a thing on a certain basis or rules, this will be considered as a contract, as a deal maybe, for example. Then a promise or a set of promises the law will enforce. So you are already signing a contract saying that you will be obeyed or you will be the responsible for that above contract, then that is called the contract. So the right and obligations are created by the acts of agreements between the parties. There will be rules for every human, and if you are signing a party's request or party's project, then you are saying that you are okay for the every season of procedures and rules he is quoting on you for the whole tender or tenant period. So this is what a contract basically is. How is the contract made? According to the Indian Contract Act 1972, a promise, a owner or employer to whom the act of promise is made. So this is a promise, as we said already. Everybody will be having their own set of rules, and if you are signing a contract, then you are promisable to that person, and that person can be an owner or employer. Contract is a contract. Promiser is the contractor, the one who promises to take the contractor. So these are the simple terms to define who is the promise and what is the promiser's opinion in this. So this is the difference between the promise and the promiser. So mode of acceptance of a contract is through the form of tender by filling an agreement form. So this way of mode of agreementing the contract will be executed as per once the agreement is being signed or filling an agreement. So once the accepted contract is executed with the due procedures as per agreement, a contract becomes void when there is any misrepresentations, fraud or any mistakes. A contract will become void when the misrepresentations or misleading of your promise, then it will be considered as a fraudster or mistake. So this is what the acceptance procedure will be leading to. Mode of acceptance of contract is through the form of tender by filling an agreement form. So this is how you are telling that client like you are going to be the contractor or tender by filling that form of tender as an agreement base. Once accepted, the contract is executed with due procedures as per agreement and on the stamp paper with specifications and drawings provided by the architect and duly signed with reasonable satisfaction of the architect. A contract becomes void when there is misrepresentations, fraud or any mistakes. Yes, again, this will become void when you just mislead your saying. And these are all the classification of building contracts. So there are these 4 types of contracts: lump sum contracts, item rate contracts, labor contracts and this demolition contracts. So these are the 4 types of building contracts we are going to classify upon. So these are the 4. Here we go look into the lump sum contracts. Traditional means of procuring construction. This is the most aged contract method where our old senior citizens were following this type of contracts means, and which is called a traditional means, which is the most common form of construction contract. Under this lump sum contract, a single lump sum price for all the works is agreed before the works begin. Like, if you are appointing a mason, he will be quoting his daily needs, like he'll be needing a break or he'll be needing leave on a Saturday and he'll be needing his wages daily. So these are the contracts that you will say, okay, you can start your work, mason, and that is, there goes this lump sum contracts. Everything is priorly fixed or talked, and then the work will start. This is called lump sum contract. And then item rate contract. Item rate contract is also known as unit price contract or schedule contract. This is where every single works will be having a unit price and schedule that will be paying according to the schedules at every stage. A contractor undertakes the execution of work on an item rate basis. So whichever is considered as an item rate basis, then it will be straight away going to this item rate contract. Labor contract is this. In the labor contract, the contractor undertakes contract of the labor portion only for excluding the materials and stuffs arranged by the other. So he is only paying for the labor portion but not to the materials or the stuffs arranged by the others. So this is very clearly mentioned that only person called labor. So the contractor engages the request labor and gets the work alone as per the drawing and specification. Like, he'll be like working only for the drawings and specifications on the side and nothing more than that. That will be called as labor contract. Convenient for the private building constructions, because on a day basis laborers will be coming and working and winding off, and that is the progress, and no need to pay off them any more or anything than that. So this is very convenient for the private building contract. Demolition contract is this. Generally, description of works is to furnish all the equipments, labors and layout of works, features and supervisions needed to be accomplished the following, like demolitions, debris removal and disposal. So he is required to quote the rate for individual item of work on the basis of BOQ, like how much for the demolition and how much will be for the collecting of debris removal and disposing the debris to the site. So this will be happening according to the BOQ, since it is important to collect and check the BOQ before you start the contracting. The amount of the contractor is made on the basis of the detailed measurement of different items of the work actually executed by him. Example, government project types of contracts mainly done in railways and PWDs. So this is the example for the demolition contract. So this is how every contract executes. The person involved will be the hero and contractor will be acting upon site supervisors, suppliers, store of works, clerk of works and the project managers and consultants, engineers, architects, and there goes the client or owners. Then role of an architect in the execution, to act as the agent of the owner. So this will be the main role where architect used to play in the period of execution, and there we go. He will be acting as an agent of the owner, and yes, he is responsible for paying or answering the owner, since he must be very alert and attentive during the time of executions. To act as an interpreter of the contractor. So he will be interpreting with the contractor and what is happening, he will be listening to him and will be updating to the client later. So he is responsible for the interpretation part also, to act as a quasi arbitrator. Like, if there is any clash between the contractor and the suppliers or the contractor and the clients, so he will be acting as the mediator or a lawyer or advocate. He will be solving out the problems which is happening between the peoples. In order to get the product successfully, he need to be the mediator and solve the problems. So to supply the working drawing in a proper time. So he will be managing and scheming that whether the drawings are gone on date or not, and he should be having a track over every drawings will be moving. So to check the quality and quantity of material specified through his subcontractors before execution. To check the quality and quantity is the main responsible for every architect. Even after you have every supplier or supervisor for your own, it's your responsibility to check the quality. In order, you are the only responsible for to answer to client. So it is your work, of course, to play the role of an architect. In the execution part is to check the quality and quantity, to adhere the rule and regulations of the Contract Act or any other act. So these are the roles one architect can mainly play in an execution part. So to check and correction of the bill quantity, to understand the inflations if any, and he is the responsible if any inflations happening even after the BOQ is supplied properly. So to ensure the safety and security of the execution as per norms. So he is also responsible for the site chores and chaos. So he should be very careful to ensure that the laborers are safely and securely executing the works and debris and disposals. Laborers should be wearing helmets and more safety precaution methods. To appoint clerk of works and site supervisors as per his convenience. So he is the one who appoints and fixes the people who is who and where to where. So to appoint consultants with respective of the work specified. He is also responsible for appointing the consultants. So to inspect the building progress periodically, yes, he needs to visit the site often, and there goes the site visit schedule needs. So he should be visiting the site on the schedule in order to check every project's progress is going on the time and as per the schedule. So it is important to keep on tracking of this periodically. Contract document is about consisting of articles of agreements, general conditions of contracts, bill of quantities, specifications and drawings, work progress reports, M-book as we previously read, additions and alterations, PERT and CPM charts, etc. So these will be the contract documents consisting. Articles of agreements is as per the contractor agreed, as per how the engineers agreed. So this is important to have a contract document in order to escape in the future or have a safety pressures in the future. You need to be having this articles of agreement. And general conditions of contractors, you need to be specified as a disclaimer that we are safe and he agreed it before, so we are not responsible anymore. Like that, you need to have an article of agreement at any cost. So general conditions of contracts is same thing as the tender process we reread early period. So the bill of quantities should be precise and specified. Specification and drawing is the main important thing that every file should contain, as same as the tender document we have attached. So this M-books and PERT CPMs will be analytically helping you. By the way, pre-request is the thing contractors should do before every work starts. So the nature of approach to the site, how the nature of approach to the site and what is the site made of. So it is important to know the site conditions and details early. The means of communication to all the site soil characters and species. So structurally he should be sounding good. So nature of the excavations, any other matter relevant, drinking water facilities for the workers, labor restroom stay facilities, everything is comes under the prerequisite. So it is the responsibility of contractors. Even after he signed our tender document, he is the only person responsible for the site happenings. After all, we are the architects. We should be encountering this contractor like he is been tracking all these things regularly. We should inquire him at any cost. So it is his responsibility to make everything ready for the workers. Drinking waters and toilet facilities and everything is upon to him. But checking is our up to hand. So by negotiation, contractors are called in and negotiated with them in person before assigning the work for them. So contractors will be negotiated with them in person before assigning the work. It is up to the contractor who has always been inside. So he is the well-known person about his workers who is good at what. So it is good to discuss with him before you appointing a person to certain work. So Negotiated tenders occurs when the client approaches a single supplier based on their track record or a previous relationship. So, every single supplier based on the track record or previous relationship, when the client approaches, he should be negotiated upon. So, it can give the client the confidence of working with the supplier they are already known and can reduce the duration and cost of tendering. This is the thing happening when you have everything in a schedule. People will go smooth, the work will move smooth. So this is important to be having everything in ready. It is often seen as anti-competition and exclusive with the potential for the cozy relationship. Yes, if we have everything scheduled and we know how to get works to be done at the site, then there goes the peace. So there will be no war between the consultant and client, and there will be no war between the consultant and the suppliers. So things will be smooth upon your architect's head. So this is what the cozy relationships comes from. By the public notice it is. Through advertisements in the newspaper, it can be done. Public notifications is must in order to claim up a contractor or tenders, but also for this. Anybody with eligibility can quote, and open tendering has been criticized for being a slow and costly process. Yes, it is, but it is the most viable way to get the most greatest tenderers or contractors or experienced contractors will be knocking at your door only by this public notice, as I feel. It may be sometimes unsuitable for the contract. As a result of it can work a great deal of time, effort and money. Yes, it will take time and money, but not more than your completion of the project, so think about it. Open tendering offers the greatest competition and has the advantages of allowing new and emerging suppliers. So there we goes about the project formulation. It's a concise, exact statement of a project to set the boundaries and limits of the works to be performed by the project. So, it is a formal document that gives a distinctive identity of a project and precise meaning of the project work to prevent conflict, confusion or the overlap. So, project formulations can be also defined as the one of the stages in the life cycle of a project. So, this is important to formulate a project until you execute. So the formulation stages is also called as the initiation. Yes, there should be an initiative for every project, and that is where goes for the formulation. So conceptualization, definitions, pre-projects. So this stage aims to carefully identify and weight various components. So, analyze project feasibility and cost effectiveness, of course. Examine and approve project inputs and outputs. Identify the stakeholders and their involvement and contribution so that you can keep track on them. Define benefits and expectations. Estimate resources needed. Perform a preliminary analysis of risk that you're gonna face. Yes, it will save a lot of stress in the futures. So, make an outline of project schedule. This will lead to a peaceful mind than leading into a chaos between you and the contractor or the suppliers. So, there goes the main elements of the formulation and evaluation. The formulation and evaluation phase comprises of the 7 main elements described below, like the estimation of demand and benefits it is. This task can determine the potential benefits that result from the investment in the project that generate the saleable products. The size, the nature of the market depends upon as it is estimated. So, the second thing is the evaluation of the technology. So, the proposed technology is reviewed in the light of the result of the evaluation of the demands and the benefits before you execute it. Then, sustainability and the environmental impact. This is one important factor that every futures depend upon the sustainability of today. So the task considers the sustainability of the projects not only from the perspective of the natural sources, usage of environmental impact, it is also critical for those projects in generating sustainable income streams where there is a need of operational support once the investment is completed. So a school is not sustainable if there is no provision for paying the teacher's salary. So this is it, guys. This is the precise example for this sustainability. See, who needs to work if you don't get paid? So just work for it. For investment with the likelihood of negative environmental impact. So There we goes with the fourth point, estimation of cost and incomes. It is important to estimate like what is going to be remaining at your hand, at your back. So the next step is to define and calculate the cost and income associated with the investments and operations of the project. So although they may be relatively easy for the simple investments, the introduction of variables such as perennial crops, livestock, breedings and other complex activities can create significant complications. Yes, so we need to be estimative before. This is what the remainings are. Financing the investments. We need to know the fundings and the financing before we invest so that we can work on the capital amount we need. So organization and investment management. The most profitable project will fail if it lacks an adequate structure of directing and managing operations. The identification of these management needs an integral element in a formulation of evaluation effort. Evaluation and the preparation of recommendation. With all the individual elements of formulation and evaluation gather, the full project evaluation can be undertaken. So there we go. Preparation of the investment. Aspects to be considered here are task scheduling, negotiations with the financing resources, supervision of the construction and other activities essential to the execution of every project. So there we go, a few steps of BOTs and BOOTs. There we go. What is mean by BOT is a private party concession retains a concession for a fixed period from the public parties is called principal. The client, yes. For the development and the operation of a public facility, the development consists of the financing, design and the construction of the facilities. The conspiracy here is the start. The secure return of the investment by operating the facility and during the concession period. So BOT projects are very useful in bidding situations. By implementing these methodologies, the company or the government can share the risk of the project. So what are the process? Study, selection, implementation and the construction, operation and then the transmission. There we go, BOT. And BOT projects include wide array of public facilities with the primary functions to serve the public need, to provide social services, promote economy, activities and the most common examples are roads and bridges. Yes. So BOT defines. It is the expansion of the build, own, operates, transfer. It's the founding model and a form of concession in which the public authority makes an agreement with the private company like one-on-one to design, build, own and operate, and a specific piece of the infrastructure such as power, transport, whatever will be theirs to achieve the income from the facility under the period of time. So, and later transferring it into the public ownership through a single organization or consortium. There we go with the process. EOI, RFP, evaluation of bids, award of works. Yes, we heard about this and we learned about these definitions. There we go in short. EOI is the expressions of interest, is the methodology showing you the interest in applying for the bidding, like who is who. Like RFP is the again the request proposal. If you are interested in a proposal, then you should be requesting for the proposal. As simple as that. Then in the principle of RFP, inform suppliers that an organization is looking to procure and encourage them to make their best effort out of it. So requires the company to specify which is proposed to purchase if the requirement analysis has been prepared already like proper. It can be incorporated quite easily into the request document. So it allows for wide distribution and response. Large suppliers, that is the selection process is competitive and ensures the same suppliers respond faculty to identify requirement. It's generally expected to follow the structural evaluation and the procedures at the same time. So there we go with the mode of evaluation of the bids. Although the review offers received done in the bid opening event, there is a preliminary examinations of this offer is done to be beginning of the evaluation process to determine. In this case of solicitation for good and work procurement, after confirming the compliance with the technical requirement, a comparison will be made between the price and the offer technically the compliant. and with the lowest evaluated bid price, the one that is recommended for the contract award. Yes, so at this point of time, your bid should be lowly evaluated. When evaluating consultants individually and firms, the technical qualifications are also initially assessed for the individual consultant selections. Once the technical qualifications are determined, and there we goes, request to submit the financial offer and negotiate a contract. The result of this bid or proposal evaluation process depends purely on the procurement method and the procedures for determining the selected supplier or contractor or the service provider that will be recommended for the negotiation and the contract award. So there he goes after quoting the lowest bidding. This will be the award of work. Contract awarding is the method used during the procurement in order to evaluate the proposals, like which is good and which is bad, tender offers, taking part and award the relevant contract. Usually at this stage, the eligibility of the proposals has been concluded. So let's remain and choose the most preferable among the proposed. There are several methods for this which are obviously related to the proportion method as by the procurement management. Methods. There are several methods for the award of work. Quoting the least price will be the first of the awarding your work. So this method is the simplest and oldest of all. We know that. Quote low, win the law. So under this procurement contract is awarded the best price. So then there we go. The second rule is most economically advantageous. This is applicable to the proposal of different quality within the limit set. So under this proposal are graded according to their price of value, and the contract is awarded to one with the best grade. So best is now the second. Then mean value will be the contract. The contract is awarded to the bit closer to the mean value of the proposal, and yeah, he is also awarded with the mean value person will be also awarded. This may apply to the procurements where numerous proposals are expected and there is a need for market representing values. Exclusion of the extremes. And what this goes, under this method, the proposals that are deviating from the most of mass of proposals are executed, and then the procedure continues with one of the above methods. There are also many variants and combinations of these main methods, but these words are called the best part to quote the awards. So guys, there we go. Here in this session contracts, we came to know a lot about out of the office works. Yes, we need to keep track on the contractor guys, the tender guys, so that we will not be answering to our clients. We are only answerable to the product and not the process. So we should be able to assist the contract in a way that he will be working himself with the fear. So it is important to know the role of an architect and the execution and the classification of the contracts. You need to be knowing all of this. Then I hope you guys have outcome with the known about the contracts in detail, classification of the contracts which will be helpful in the futures, and about the project formulation. Yes, we need to formulate every project in order to get the successful product. To know about the stages involved in the board and board, yes, it will be helpful in the near future with the outcomes perfectly. So these are the expecting questions which will be asked and which can be answered. What are the main elements of formulation and evaluation? What are the classifications of the contract? Write about the phases involved, project formulation, and write about the stages also involved in the BOT, BOOT, and expand the EOI and RFP, where there you guys going with the contract. And thank you.